Is it time for recess yet? I'm so glad you found time to join us here on the Child Care Director's Chair, where Erica Sacoccio shares her best practices that she's refined through her passion of directing childcare centers over the last 23 years. From parenting interaction, systems to save you time, money, and stress, to profitability. She shares it all from the Child Care Director's Chair.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. If this is your first time tuning into our show, I'd like to say welcome. We're so happy that you're here. If you are one of our daily loyal listeners, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say thank you. I love you and I am so grateful for you. Thank you for allowing me to do what I love to do, which is pour into others. And I hope that this podcast is doing that for you. I hope that you feel inspired after you listen to my podcast. I hope that you'll take action on something that I talk about or something sparks an aha for you. And if it's not, let me know. Visit me over on our Facebook page. You can send me an inbox. I'm also on Instagram. You can send me a message there. I answer all my messages directly. We also have this really cool feature now called Fan Mail, where you can text the show. You can ask us a question. We'll be happy to answer it on the air or off the air, whatever's most comfortable for you, but we can answer any of your topics that you're interested in. If I don't know the answer, I will get somebody who is more specialized in that area for you on the show. If you haven't already noticed, we started bringing on some guests. So we have the best of the best coming on the show for you, and I'm so excited. I hope that you're loving that feature. Another new thing that we added is what's in the news. So once a week, we are going to talk about what is in the news for childcare in the childcare industry, because things are, as I say, moving fast. So that's kind of it for my housekeeping today. But let's talk about why childcare competition is actually good for your business. So let's talk about that. Well, first of all, competition motivates childcare providers to strive for excellence in their services. It leads us to improve our program quality, our curriculum, and overall care for kids. And can we say it? That's the whole reason we're here, is to care for the children. Of course, I understand it's a business, and of course, we need to make money. And there are mixed feelings about that. Some folks say, I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it for the kids, I'm in it for the community. And I know that that is true. But on the flip side of that, you need money to pay the bills, to pay your staff, to keep going. So, don't feel bad about that either. It's like any other product or services. Well, probably more so because we're so impactful, but you have to not feel bad about asking for money to deliver excellence. And maybe, again, doesn't always have to be on the parents. There is so many opportunities for funding right now. Dive into those so that you can still provide excellence while helping support families and providing the best quality service for your children. The second thing I want to talk about is competition encourages innovation. As childcare centers seek to differentiate themselves by offering unique programs, services, and learning opportunities. Now, let's not kid ourselves. You know, because I know, that when a new program opens up on your block or down the street or around the corner, you will relook at your program. You will say, what programs am I offering now? How can I make it better? You really start to reevaluate yourself. So sometimes that competition is what pushes you. And it's that way in any business, any sport. Competition is what moves you towards innovation and making sure you are on top of your game. And if you're not and you don't do that, well, then, you know what the alternative is. Sometimes your doors will close, right? Because your customers are going to go elsewhere, which brings me to the third reason why competition is good for you. Because childcare providers start to focus more with meeting the needs and preferences of parents and children to attract and retain customers in a competitive market. Now, my key word is retain, because I love talking about customer retention, kind of my favorite. And you can really kind of tell where people's mindset is at, because if we're always talking about attracting new families and wait, listen, constantly, that churn, that tells me that you're either one, not retaining your customers, or two, haven't built out your program in a way that allows you to service that family for a longer period of time. So, wraparound care, summer camp, after school programming, or if you don't offer infant toddlers, maybe expanding your preschool to include infants and toddlers. There's a lot of ways to do that. But it should always be customer focused on what does your community need. what is available now. The other piece is that competition, when it talks about price, competition can drive down prices, making childcare services more affordable for families and expanding the market reach for providers. And I feel like right now, in some areas, there isn't a lot of price competition. It's kind of like, this is the price, and that's kind of the price all the way down the block. But that doesn't have to necessarily be true if, again, you see tip number 1, tip number 2, tip number 3, right? Are you being innovative? Are you offering services that other places aren't, right? All those things are all connected to where you can price yourself in the market. So think about that. You may not want to compete on price alone. You may not want to be the lowest in terms of pricing because you might be pricing yourself out of business, especially with the cost of care on our end, right, as childcare owners, right? And it really is very much dictated by what the ratios are in your state, what the wages are. I mean, I don't think anybody is paying minimum wage anymore. So to me, I feel like that's a non-factor at this point. It's more like, what is the going wages in your state? What has the last 3 years dictated that early childhood educators should be getting paid in your marketplace based on the number of kids that they care for and, you know, the level of quality that you offer in your program. And there's obviously a lot of variables. And again, that's an episode for another day. But price competition surely is a factor when it comes to increased competition in your area. The other thing I think that really happens is more childcare options become more available. As that happens, and in areas with competition, it provides families with a greater accessibility and flexibility in choosing the right childcare center for their children. So if there is a limited availability, you kind of have to just pick from what you have available to you. But the more centers that come in, the more choices families have. And that's a wonderful thing. You may be thinking, nope, you're crazy. I actually found as more centers opened up around me, I found that my enrollment actually increased. And so one of the things I think happens too is as people start to set up tours, if you're really close to other centers, they will set up a tour at, 2 or 3 at least locations or centers. And if you know that you're offering the right things and you have great prices or have tenured staff or, something special, and you know what your competitors have, you're very smart at pointing out the differences, whether it's vacation weeks, whether it is your policies around XYZ, maybe it's your dependability factor, right? Do you close for, we have snow here in Rhode Island. Do you close for every snowflake? Do you follow what the school department does? Or do you make your own parameters? Maybe you don't close at all. Maybe you're a no-close school, right? There's a lot of different things that really can set you apart. And again, that's maybe more of a marketing session. But in terms of competition, the more options that there are, the more families will come into the area. If there's only one childcare area, one childcare center in a large area, you may not get as much childcare traffic as if there are 3 or 4 or 5 really close by. So that's what I have found in my experiences is the more centers that were around me, the higher my enrollment went. So go figure. Also, competition encourages childcare providers to make sure that they differentiate themselves through their specialization, through the philosophy or unique features that help them stand out in the market. And sometimes you go back to the drawing board. And, again, if you created your program 10, 15 years ago, some of the things you have in place might be a little dated. And when new competition comes in, it really does make you look at things through a different lens. So I always think it's great. And competition can stimulate market growth by encouraging new folks to come into the childcare industry, expanding services to underserved areas. So if there's only one childcare center in a 5-mile radius, right? Maybe folks are not moving to that area, or maybe potential new businesses aren't moving in there because there's not if care to attract staff to their businesses. So it is a nice benefit, especially if you work with businesses around you, to say, hey, if your employees come to our center, we'll offer a 5 or 10 or 50, whatever it is, discount on childcare services. So there's so many opportunities when that happens. And childcare providers may engage more with their local communities to build relationships, partnerships, and networks to stay competitive and enhance their reputation. And this is where that little caveat of when I had said earlier in the episode about expanding your services so you can have children longer. This is another little tidbit there is when you service after-school children, you then have schools recommending your program to families. Now, I have like 10 or 12 schools in my district that we service. So how many students attend each of those schools? And just that alone fills up. I don't think we've ever really had more than 5 spots open in our after school program at any given point ever since we've opened. And we've been open for 17 years in that particular location. And so community engagement is everything. But as new centers start to come into the area, you start to say, hey, don't forget about us. We've been in business 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So you will start to think about that a lot more. Now, again, most of us are already involved in our community, but you might reach out to new partnerships. Maybe you won't, stay with the same 3 or 4 that you always are promoting and collaborating with. Maybe your goal will be you're going to make that 5 now be 10 agencies that you work with. So it just really gets your mind rolling. And so I love that. It's very exciting. As you can tell my voice, I'm very passionate about this because I just absolutely love when it's time to compete. So it's fun. I think competition also drives childcare professionals to continually improve their skills, their knowledge base, and their qualifications to stay ahead of competitors and meet industry standards. This is where leaders, really great leaders, say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to invest in our staff. We're going to go for national accreditation. Or we're going to invest in our staff, and we're going to make sure that every teacher assistant in our entire building earns a CDI. Like, this is how you stand apart from the rest of the competition, because people want to send their children where they know they're going to be safe, where they're going to be cared for, where they're going to be nurtured with people who know what they're doing. And we know that the last couple of years, the staffing has been a real challenge. And it's not a secret. So parents know it. And they're going to ask you the questions. How long have your staff been here? What are their qualifications? People weren't asking that prior to COVID, but now people are asking that much more. So the secret is out, guys. And this is how you really do it. So that competition, if you have great leadership in your programs, will double down on investing in their staff around professional development. The other thing, and I think I'll probably do an episode tomorrow, the other thing is not only free PD that you can take online, in-person PD. On-site PD with your team where you guys can bond and learn together, where people aren't segregated by age groups, because that happens a lot. Like, all right, you're a toddler teacher, you're going to take this on toddlers, but the preschool team is taking different training. No, I love when the team comes together and they start collaborating with each other, because again, these rooms all have to work as one. Hey, you. Yes, it's Erica. So I'm going to make a really quick announcement. I feel like there are some of you out there that are running someone else's center and you're ready to run your own. Well, I'm here to tell you you can do it. And our friends at thrivingchildcare.com also know you can do it as well. So hop on over to their website and look for the Create a Plan for Your Success, which is a playbook on opening up your own center, putting together a business plan. You can even get it downloadable and you can have it in your hands today. So make sure you use our special code. It is Child Care Podcast, all capital letters. Again, visit thrivingchildcare.com and let Adrian know Erica says hi.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And so used to having everything in front of them right away that we forget that innovation just takes time. I myself, I get frustrated too. Why? And this is being one of my best friends is, hey, I talk to you all the time. Hey, man, I'm frustrated in the fact that I can't seem to just get there in the next day. But that's just not how these things work, right? Innovation needs to be planned out. It needs to be very methodical. And then when it finally hits, that's when it seems like to everyone else that it sort of just came out of nowhere. But to you, the amount of dedication that it took over that time.
What's happening in your toddler room, they are setting the foundation for your pre-K1 room. So those teachers need to talk. They need to be on the same page. What skills do you need our children to leave our room, to go into your room? What do you need them to do? Where do we need them to be at, right? Sometimes for some centers, they need to be potty trained before they move to pre-K1. Other centers don't do that. Others just say children will develop when they develop, and there's not, this time marker, and there's certainly not going to be, held back because they didn't reach that milestone at the same time frame as their peers, right? There's so many things to consider. But when you have professional development where your team comes together in person is magic. So don't forget that. So invest, double down, and you will see a return on that investment 3 times fold. Your staff also stay with you. And when we talk about competition, there's that other piece, right? Your staff. If there's 4 brand new programs that just opened up on your street, trust me, they're going to start trying to pillage your staff. But if you have good roots, your team, like you do a beautiful garden and flower, and you weed out the weeds and you give sunlight and water to those beautiful flowers, aka your staff, they're not going anywhere because you're a good gardener, you're a good leader. And so triple down. I know I talked a lot about that tip, but it's so important. The other thing I think is childcare providers can benchmark their performance against competitors by identifying their strengths, their weaknesses, and areas for improvement, and leading to overall industry advancement. Because if everyone is on the same page and everybody's offering high quality, you know who wins? The kids and the parents, the staff, our industry, right? And this conversation has been happening for a while. We all know, and we don't even have to keep saying it anymore. We know we're not babysitters. And guess what? The whole world knows it too now, because this conversation has been going on for a long time. People have been advocating everywhere. And the more that we continue to push our industry, the more people are going to get it. The more people are going to get that this is early childhood education. Not daycare, childcare, it's not that. Early childhood education if it is done right. So competition pushes you to keep working on your strengths, your weaknesses, and areas of improvement. If you are part of a quality rating system, as we talked about earlier in the episode, that is going to be required of you. If you go into accreditation, that is going to be required of you. You're going to put together some type of a board, advisory group, every, level of accreditation or quality improvement calls it something different. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a board of advisors who say, hey, this is our feedback on where we think you're great and where you need to improve. And one of the cool things, if you're really a leader and really want to improve our field, competition can really help with sharing resources. Childcare centers may collaborate. Think about that. Wow. Collaborate shared resources such as training programs or equipment or marketing initiatives to reduce the costs and improve efficiency. Imagine that. Could you imagine working with your competitor? I can. I do it all the time. Find a few centers that you know are good quality and refer people and do the same, right? If you don't offer a high quality after school program and it's just not something that you see in the cards for you, then find one. Find one and collaborate with the owner of that program and make some type of referral program where you refer customers to each other. Or if there's a really dynamite trainer in your state and you really want them to come in, but they're a little pricey, why not reach out to 3 or 4 centers and say, hey, I want to bring in, the best of the best in our state, in our area, in our region. Let's collaborate. Let's all share the cost on that. And then you could really bring in some top talent. And I think it's really fun too for the staff to talk with and meet other people in the industry who all in it, especially if you work in the same community, we're going to have a lot of the same type of customers in many cases where, we really can help solve problems. So one of my teachers just said to me the other day, hey, I think we should call XYZ Childcare. I'm not going to use real names. I think we should call it XYZ Childcare. See if they want to play a softball game that we can play against them and raise funds for a nonprofit agency or some type of charity. I said, that's a great idea. So I think we're going to do that. So that's a fun way that competition can do good, right? So there's a lot of ways to think about it. Don't always look at it as negative because it really isn't. There's also competition can lead to stricter regulation enforcement and compliance standards to ensure that there are fair and ethical practices among childcare providers benefiting children and families. Now, I know that when I say, everybody's probably cringed, about, regulations. Why do we need stricter ones? I think each state is a little bit different. So some states, I think, probably are a little heavy on regulations, although well-meaning for the safety of the children. Sometimes they do seem maybe a little unfair when you look at what other states are. But again, look at what is best practice, what does the research say, and then, advocate for that. But I do think that, so one of the things, as an example, in our state, and I think most states are doing this now, I think it's from the federal level, is if your program has a violation, it is now public knowledge, and there's a website that you can go on and you can see what violations, or if any, that's each center has. So that is just another tool to help families decide where they want to send their children. Because I think transparency is good, but it also is a great way to say, hey, if you're finding, I'm going to make this up, but if you're finding 9 out of 10 centers are not able to meet professional development criteria because it's not available in the area, then that tells the regulatory folks, hey, we need to find somebody who offers this in our area because centers are struggling with that. Or centers are struggling with, changing playground equipment because there isn't enough funding, or there isn't enough, centers aren't making enough money to come in to replace that. Is there grant money at the state level, federal level, et cetera, that people can apply to get that, new equipment if they're finding that across the board, or is it just that particular center? So you'll start to see some trends. Childcare centers can also offer loyalty programs and incentives to retain families in a competitive market. And that forces long-term relationship and trust. And a loyalty program can look so different. Just really depends on what speaks to your values at your center, your culture. Some folks do a credit towards tuition. Some do a raffle. Some do a gift card. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I also believe that competition encourages childcare providers to enhance communication with parents. You're going to ask for feedback more because you're not going to want people to leave over something that you could correct pretty quickly in most cases, but you don't know about it. Also, addressing concerns quickly always helps build trust and transparency. So I think that improved communication really starts to rise to the top, if you will, when you start thinking about new centers are moving in, right? And so maybe the new center down the block uses an app, and they're dedicated to making sure that parents get at least 4 entries a day and 5 pictures a day and a video a day, right? What are they doing? Are they communicating more? Because if you're not doing that, and those centers are doing that, and families start talking about, because let's face it, families hang out at birthday parties, and they go to playgrounds, and they go to schools, and they hang out in the same places in many cases. So, people are going to know what's going on at your center, what's going on at other centers. And that's kind of where that referral stuff happens. And I think, too, being adaptive, responding to changing market dynamics, trends, and customer preferences to retain a competitive relevance. And so I think that childcare providers become more adaptable as competition moves in. We all know, as I said earlier, that continuous commitment to improvement, competition fosters that culture of continuous improvement. When childcare providers take feedback, evaluate performances, and implement changes to enhance their services. And I think when we talk about evaluating performance, don't forget about evaluating your staff, because it's not always, and most times it's not even money that make people leave. It is feeling like they're not heard, feeling like they're not part of the bigger picture, feeling like they're not appreciated. There's a lot of different things. And so the more frequently that you hold those one-on-one meetings and evaluate performance of staff and help them with challenges, sometimes the challenge is a child in their classroom, or maybe the particular flow of their classroom, or materials that they need. It could be a lot of different things. So if you're committed to your staff and your parents, they'll be committed right back to you. So competition really helps you start to think about that and look under that lens. And childcare providers, have to be aware of market trends and customer preferences and industry developments. And through competition, it allows you to make informed decisions and strategic adjustments. which is why I love strategic planning meetings with my staff. And I'm actually overdue for one. So that is going on my to-do list. We held them yearly for quite a bit. And then we had a little bit of changes in our staff this year. And I wanted to wait to make sure I had the right team in place that's going to be with me moving forward before I held that meeting. So we had a little bit of a transition. So I put that on pause. But we definitely will be planning one for the upcoming school year. So strategic planning meetings are really important, and being aware of your market really does help you as you make those adjustments, as we talked about earlier, being adaptable. And competition can stimulate demand for childcare services as providers strive to attract more families, leading to overall industry growth and sustainability. So when there's more options, families who maybe couldn't afford childcare now can. Because again, we're being innovative, we're collaborating, so that way more money is able to stay in the center, which allows us to do more things, which allows us to keep staff, hire staff, just all those things that help you grow. That is going to happen with increased competition. And then competition also creates opportunities for entrepreneurs to enter the childcare market with new ideas, concepts, and business models, fostering entrepreneurship and economic growth. I love all of my entrepreneurs out there. Nothing more than entrepreneurship for me. I love it. I don't think I will ever work for anybody else again. I know that. I know for a fact. And some of you out there are saying, yes, that's right. I will not either, Erica. And that's my friends who own their family childcare centers, those who own centers, those who are directors right now, who are in the midst of putting together their own business plans to open up their own center. Yes, you. Yep, I'm talking to you right now. Entrepreneurship is honestly just such a passionate thing. And you'll know when you get there, because you'll be that person who can't wait to get to work. You're going to be that person who can't wait for Mondays. You're going to be that person who keeps thinking about bigger and bigger things you can do. And some folks do that on site. Some people do it off site. I have friends that do both. I have people that I respect very much who have different perspectives than me, and that's okay, because we all run our businesses the way that we feel that our heart and our gut lead us, along with research, best practice, resources unavailable, all those things. It's a very special mix that makes a successful childcare center. So don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. It's not just one thing. It is a culmination of things, because the best system, the best coach, the best location, the best staff, none of that works if you don't have all the other pieces in place. So, and lastly, I guess I'll bring to the point is that competition does not preclude collaboration, as childcare providers may collaborate on industry-wide initiatives, advocacy for sure, advocacy efforts all day long, or professional development opportunities to collectively benefit the industry. Because again, when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. So competition is good for you. It is healthy. It promotes innovation, excellence, and responsiveness to the needs of children and families. So that's why I'm here. So that is it for today's episode. I am so excited. I can't wait to get into work tomorrow. I hope you will do the same. If you have a new center that is in your area opening up or has opened up in the last year, maybe, re-listen to this episode, take some notes. I will also see if we can put a quick checklist on our Facebook group page for you. And if you're not part of that, it is the Child Care Directors Chair Leadership Group. Doesn't cost anything to be there. You don't have to be a special member. There's none of that jazz. But I will see if we can get something up there for you. But go back and, pull one or two things from this that you are going to take action on tomorrow, because you want your time listening to podcasts or watching YouTube channels or reading books or going to all the free master classes. If you don't implement anything, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to improve for you or the industry. So I guess on that, I'm going to say it is the small details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business. So as always, have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Erica signing out.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Childcare Director's Chair.